It's time for Liberty Today. On today's show, U.S. Senate candidate Stace Nelson is in the House. Gordon Howie and Tonchi Weaver ask, is winning really the most important thing? And Judge Morgan is back, handing down a decision on the Supreme Court. All this and more on today's Liberty Today.
Well, President Barack Obama buys votes by giving people free phones. Stace Nelson, I have a free Nelson for Senate pin, but you're not buying votes, my friend.
No, sir,
you're just being a genuine South Dakota American patriot.
Well, thank you.
God bless you for that.
Thank you, sir.
You know, Stace, by now you know, is an announced candidate for the United States Senate, and I've met and rubbed elbows with a lot of people in the political arena. So have you.
Yes, sir.
But it is an unusual experience to find someone who is genuine and they don't have a personal agenda. I'm sitting on the set today with somebody who fits that description. I'm just thrilled that you're in this race, my friend.
Thank you, Gordon.
Some people have already begun taking pot shots at your contract with South Dakota, calling it a gimmick.
Yeah. Well, you know, folks, how could it be a gimmick when you tell South Dakotans where you stand on the substantive issues that they're concerned with? And I'd like us to all remember back during the period of time in America when we had people that ran for office and they looked the voters in the eye and they told them where they stood on the issues. And I'd ask us to remember that the substantial situations in our American history, when Americans had to take a stance on an issue, they just didn't talk about it. Going back as far as our Declaration of Independence, they put pen to paper and they put signatures on what they believed in, even like the Declaration of Independence when they were signing their death warrants. So I looked at this and I realized that South Dakotans deserve an old-fashioned, traditional, conservative public servant that will tell them where they stand on the issues and is not afraid to take a stance on conservative issues and put it in writing.
You know, Stace, I love your contract, and when you talk in your contract about supporting only legislation that is constitutionally sound, I'm thinking, wouldn't that be refreshing? And opposing efforts to increase income tax rates, and talk a little bit about that. How would you deal with the recent increase in capital gains tax rates?
Well, folks, we don't have a revenue problem in D.C. or in Pierre. What we have is professional politicians that are all more than happy to spend your dollars. And what we're seeing is, as a result of all these taxes, we're seeing businesses being squelched, whether small businesses or large businesses. This is hurting them. And in return, they're not able to have more jobs. So America is in the stagnant state that it is in. We have to get out of that rut, and we have to get back to the idea that creating jobs in America does not come from the government. It comes from businesses, small-time businesses and large businesses that actually run our economy. And because all those are stalled with the massive amount of regulation and taxes that have occurred in the last 10 years, we are currently in that recession and in that slump of such massive unemployment across this great nation.
Well, I imagine you'd be in favor of stimulating the economy, but how would you deal with it when it comes to federal spending and stimulus spending?
Well, I'm not for stimulus spending, and I am not for the federal government being the answer to all our problems, because it's been shown that it's not. We must cut this massive, bloated, oppressive federal government. All of us have heard the horror stories about NSA spying on us. We've all heard the stories about the IRS targeting us. Okay, that's a problem. And one of the problems we have is that Congress has these massive bills where they shove as much pork in there as possible, and special interests are driving a lot of this. Even foreign special interests. If we take a look at our national defense budget, which is the largest part of our national budget, there's a lot in that is not for our national defense. There's stuff in there to help provide support for such countries like Egypt. We've provided Egypt more money every year than the federal government gives back to South Dakota for the federal obligations here in South Dakota.
Well, isn't that a comfort?
Well, it's kind of scary because we're giving money and aid and military equipment, our state-of-the-art military equipment, to people and countries that oftentimes have views that are inimical to the United States, and oftentimes some of these people actually wish us harm.
Well, and when we talk about aid, you're supportive of drug testing for recipients of public assistance.
You know, folks, I tell you, I've heard a lot of people complain in our business community that, you know, we've got too many people that are more than comfortable to stay on public assistance or on unemployment. And we've got problems with unemployment fraud, and we've got, here in South Dakota, there's a lot of jobs open that businesses are unable to fill simply because we've got people that don't want to work. And unfortunately, that's not what the system was designed for. And the bottom line is, if we're going to require our military personnel, our federal agents, which I was for 23 and a half years, I took drug tests to show that was clean and sober enough to serve you and possibly die for you. So if someone is receiving the largesse of you, the taxpayers, meaning they're receiving gifts to get through difficult times, it should not be on being expected that these people are clean and sober and not using that to use illegal drugs.
Yeah. Well, we're out of time, but I think you may agree after listening to my friend Stace Nelson with his campaign slogan, right time, right place. South Dakota needs Stace.